Hi, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Monroe, Washington.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey guys, we've loved answering all of your questions so far. If you'd like to hear your question on the podcast, please send them to us on Instagram at Wheel Talk Podcast or by email to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.
It's good.
No, it's good. I figured this would be better than outside, and then yesterday we did outside, and you could hear the atmosphere and stuff.
Yeah, which is nice. Yeah.
This is exciting. Guys, what are we talking about?
I have a list of, kind of questions.
I was like,
how long have you known Ryan? Did you know that he likes lists?
I have lists.
He was like, did you read the questions so that we know what we're talking about tonight? I was like, all right.
I actually thought about whether I should ask in advance what sorts of things you'd ask me so I can think faster.
I feel like it's easier to just
It's just like conversation.
These
are just points to say, bring it back to the list that I write. If you want to look at it, the questions I write are what I think that listeners of ours would want to hear about, which would be the business side of, and they don't they're mostly in clay, but we talk about business a lot, so it could be relating to how you run your business or how you're also making stuff. So pricing is an interesting thing that you and I have talked about.
Yes.
So that should be interesting for people to hear in a different medium and how you price it.
Yeah.
And it'll be good to hear because you are the consigner or the wholesaler.
That's true.
So it's good to hear your perspective on what.
Yeah.
As well as
we're already recording by the way, but sometimes I add in the pre stuff because it's more interesting. I will add this in because it's kind of interesting. But anyway, tell us who you are.
Hi. I don't know why I'm looking at the mic I need to talk to it.
It's okay. We should put a little face on it.
We should. A little googly eye.
What's your name?
Kelti Ziese. And I own Coda Co and co-own Nomad in Bellevue.
What are those businesses? Are they...
What do they entail?
So Coda Co is kind of an all-around home goods / clothing boutique shop. So home goods, home decor, and clothing for the most part. And we try to feature a lot of local art and handmade things if we can. And then Nomad is, we call it a gathering place because it's not quite a full bar and it's not quite a full restaurant. We're just kind of floating in between. So
you're still figuring it out.
Yeah, and we're still definitely figuring it out. But just a place to get a drink or dessert or a loaded tater tot basket, kind of a...
Oh, hell yeah.
And that's where we're interviewing this right now. We're in the front kind of social area of Nomad, so...
Have you ever owned a restaurant type thing before?
Absolutely not, no.
Oh, how was that?
Flying by the seat of our pants. It's been interesting. It's been good. Thankfully, we've had experience in the industry before, so that aspect helps, but running it's a whole new beast, and knowing how much to order, and right now we still have kind of weird hours, so it's been interesting. We had our first staff meeting yesterday to talk to everybody and kind of see where everyone's at, and thankfully they have a lot of input, but they've also been fantastic right off the bat.
Because you co-own it with friends of yours, and there's a number of you all that own it together.
Yeah, so Tanner and I, and then our friends Ryan and Kirsty, and then we do have our friends Drew and Brooke, who unfortunately weren't able to be a part of it as much as they wanted. They started fostering a baby, a newborn, end of last year. So that's obviously taken up a ton of time. But they've been coming and helping. She's been making a really delicious dessert every week to feature.
Nice.
It's really good cake. And I know it's hard not to eat it. I'm gotta sell it.
So your social stuff with the cake, it's everything's new, and it's kind of cool that you can figure out something different and just
that's been
come this day because we don't know if it's gonna be around next week or whatever.
Right, and it's been crazy to see anytime we've posted her dessert, whether it's been on our story or just our page, literally that cake within the first few hours of us being open, probably over 75% of it was gone, all in to-go orders. They came just for the cake and left. So I was she's doing something right.
Pastries are... Oh, somebody's at your door. Pastries are definitely...
Sorry.
Should we not look at them, or should we look at them?
It's probably because I have the lights on.
I know. They're are you open? No, leave!
Are they still there?
They're still there.
Oh, God. Hey, Tanner.
Oh no, they're looking through the window at us.
Oh, this is
Cool.
Hello. Hey, Tanner. Yeah. Do you wanna
See who's at the door?
go help?
Oh, they're walking away. We're good. We're good. We're good.
They probably hear us.
I know. I was like, I don't want to be loud, but
Okay. Sorry about that.
they looked a little, like a little.
She's flailing her hands around. What is she doing? She's here. She's going like this. She's like this. Okay, anyway. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We need blinds.
Well, you know. What
All
were we
right.
talking about?
Talking about Nomad. So
Nomad.
how long have you all been open?
A little over a month now. We opened Labor Day weekend, which we didn't really think about that, and that was probably not the wisest choice. But what was it? One of our friends, family members, described it as getting baptized by fire because it was insane. But yeah, it's been a little over a month now, and we're starting to feel like we're getting things sorted, which is good.
Yeah. And how long have you been running Coda Co, whether it's like the business of Coda Co or like the retail of Coda Co?
Yeah, so Coda Co is probably like its actual business itself has existed for probably about 6 years or so. But we've had the Brick and Mortar. We just hit our 3-year in August, so it's like time flies. But
Yeah. 3 years.
How are you doing in the brick and mortar?
it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bellevue it's hard because Bellevue, I love it here, and it's such a like quaint little town, and it is cool, and more people are starting to discover it, and it's hard because it's a hidden treasure, which I love that, but also it can be difficult for business, for just walkable traffic, because it's not something that you just happen upon.
You have to drive there.
Yeah, you either have to like be shown it or like decide to go there. Like you don't just accidentally drive through like a lot of places.
And for people listening that don't know where we're in Bellevue, Kentucky, which is right across the river from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yes.
And it's probably 5 minutes from downtown.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's so
super
close. When we do city fleas, people are like, "Where's Bellevue?" I'm like, literally, if you throw a rock, you could hit it. So it's like it is a hidden gem, and I think it's starting to really.
It will.
Yeah, like more people are finding out about it, which is great. But
yeah, there's more like frequency of people being able to come to this area because of Darkness Brewing across the street. Your all's area or your shop here or business here is like more dinner, and then there's galleries down the street, and it's a lot of like salons and stuff, and that's been kind of around a while, right?
Yeah.
And then it's slowly getting more retail and more frequency for people to come back.
Absolutely. I know, like, even the mayor recently mentioned, like, he owns a couple properties down here, and he's kind of been talking to the ones that are currently being rented by, insurance agencies or realtors or offices to
like
kind of
dentists and
to kind of try and see if they'd be willing to give up their avenue location to go, like, Taylor Avenue up the street is great. They've got tons of, like, great storefronts or, office spaces, but I feel like it'd be better for the avenue to have one of those shops.
Yeah, we were talking about, like, my town in Monroe, if you buy, or if you start a business on Main Street, it has to be either a retail or a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like, nothing else, because there was too many gyms and, like, hair salons, and, like, you could do a hair salon with retail, but, like, insurance companies and all those things, like, and it wasn't bringing any business downtown, and since they've changed that, it has been a lot better.
That's good. Yeah. I think that's important for them to have a little bit of reins on that, at least, because, like you said, gyms, like, one of the best storefronts down here, and she's a fantastic woman who runs this business, but she took one of, like, the most awesome storefronts, and she did personal training, so she was actually the first one, so it was good, because she did bring a lot of people down here, but then right next to her, where we just passed, where it used to be the boudoir place and the barbecue place, now that's like a studio too, and so it gets a little tough because, now there's two right next to each other.
From real estate.
It takes a chunk up. Yeah, and they're great people, they're fantastic, but it's hard for retail for sure when businesses like that go in.
Well, it's like, and what people don't understand is that gyms specifically do bring a lot of people into town. The only, or like into a space, the only place that they are going to go after they work out potentially is a bar or a restaurant. They're not going to go to a retail location.
Like a smoothie place or something like that.
Yeah. And typically I feel like they do a lot of personal training in like the early morning hours where no one's even open yet. So not to say anything bad on them because they are great people, but yeah, it does make it a little tough. But they're working on it. It seems like it's kind of shifting a little bit, which is good.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly not the business owner's fault.
Right, yeah. I mean, I would want to be on the avenue regardless of what I was trying to do, too. Like, I don't blame them. It's a great place.
Great place, yeah. Great spot.
Yeah.
So how has the Coda Co Brick and Mortar shifted? I know from knowing you, it's mainly through the macrame that you do, handmade, and then Tanner does the woodworking. So how has the brick and mortar and the business of Coda Co shifted the last couple years or few years?
It has shifted quite a bit. When we first opened, we really both wanted it to be something where we filled the shop basically entirely with stuff that we made, and then, we were like, okay, we can bring in a couple local people, and then we very quickly realized, actually after the opening weekend, which looking back cracks me up because I'm like, we had 2 things for sale. But, we sold out a bunch of stuff right away, and it was like, well, shoot, now we don't have enough time to quickly make stuff again to fill it up to be ready to always just be stocked. So we started adding in more of the local stuff as much as we could, and then even then it was hard because same type of thing, we'd sell out of one of our vendors' items or whatever, and then by telling them, then they still have to make it. So we were kind of running into the same issues. So we keep as much as we can local, but we were able to kind of branch out a bit and find a couple just wholesalers in general that have some home goods that we couldn't find locally, or the clothing was a huge thing we added last October, and it's one of the biggest sellers that we have, and it's nice because there's still some work involved as far as picking it out and then steaming and tagging and hanging it up and whatever, but ultimately far less time, but still a good profit margin.
Right. So how is I've never bought stuff wholesale. Seems like it's just you just have to go with your gut of what you think is going to sell and what fits your theme, and making sure you sell enough of it to where you make enough profit that you don't have a bunch of it sitting.
Right.
Based on the sizes that are left. And
right. That's kind of been an interesting thing to learn a bit because, you just don't know, and they don't let you most of the time return unless something's damaged. So you're kind of stuck with it. And I've had a few issues with the clothing, some stuff comes and on the picture it looks one way, and then you get it and it's just not at all what you think. So I've kind of narrowed down the good vendors that I really like using, and I just stick with them, and I really don't branch out a whole lot just because I get worried, because you have to drop, they have minimums, so you have to drop $500, and then if you get it and it's not what you expected, most of the time they're kind of well, we don't have a return policy,
right.
just
sorry.
What's when you're buying wholesale, what is the general minimum? So what's the...
It depends on where you get it from. So there's this really cool site that kind of harbors a bunch of small businesses, which is neat. And I think they pick their minimums. Typically for something for anything that us in this room do, I feel like people do $150 to $250 minimum.
Yeah.
That's the wholesale price?
That's the wholesale minimum.
So the wholesale minimum, yeah.
So you're spending $300 retail and then chop off half of it. Or is that what you're paying? 50%
well, basically it's just you can buy from me, but you have to buy a minimum of $200.
Yeah.
Wholesale.
So
cost.
Yeah, for instance, your planters or something, if you're selling your planters for $25, and me as a retailer, we do whatever split. For that you have a set one, obviously, because you're online. So let's just, for the ease of it, say it's 50%, which is fairly typical. So yeah, you buy it all at 50%, but you have to hit $250 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
At that wholesale price.
To make it worth it for them to sell it at that price.
Right. So yeah, it's been interesting to learn, and it's been a learning curve for sure, but.
Plus, the clothing gets you seasonal things to bring people in more frequently, I'm guessing, and then you can have the sale items that bring people in for the discounted things, as well as getting rid of stock that's old.
Right. Yeah, I've been definitely trying to do up the sales a bit more when I have a lot of inventory left over, like for spring and stuff. But I don't want to be like, I mean, I've read some things about, fast fashion, and I don't want it to be like, like just going through stuff like crazy. So I try and pick really good like statement pieces or something, or even like really good basics that like people would wear all the time. It's not something that like you would just necessarily get rid of the next year. So that way, if it doesn't sell on sale, for instance, some of the stuff from like last year, winter, I just boxed it up and took it back out this winter and still left it on the sale price. So, uh-oh. You alright? Yeah. He's been breaking things a lot lately. Sounds like a lot. But, yeah, so basically stuff I can bring back out the following year and, people still seem to like it, and then they have sale stuff already for that year.
And then the customer base is completely different than the people that are trying to buy wooden furniture or cutting boards or the macrame statement design pieces.
That's true. I feel like we try to have a little bit for everybody as far as like, I mean, we do have we tend to stick with this particular style all around, but we try and have a big offering. So if you're not, looking for a cutting board, you can buy some.
Can you tell people like some of the types of wholesale items that they could find so they can kind of get a feel of like the items
what you're
that
purchasing?
You could buy?
Yeah, let's see. So, I mean, as far as like the stuff we get online where we don't really have as much of a relationship with the vendor, I mean, the clothing obviously, and then I would say, I mean, there's some home goods, and then like just a lot of like little things. Like I've been trying to find some like quick buy items. So, for instance, I just bought these cute little like what you were putting out when
I bought a sticker. Like,
stickers, like little just coin pouch stuff, like little quick buy stuff that's under $10. We have it up by the register because I'm a sucker for that. I always buy stuff that last minute if I see it, like, oh, that's cute.
Totally.
So stuff like that, or I mean.
Or you have like pendants and like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Are they prints that would go on a wall?
Yeah, prints, exactly. Like wall art. There's plenty of awesome people around here, so I try and get some from them too. But I found some really cool people like over Instagram or just through that site where they just got a really cool style that like fits. So just kind of. It's really just a little bit of everything. I mean, just not necessarily specifics. It's just if I know I want something in the shop and I can't find the style I'm looking for locally, then I'll start the search.
What do you look for? Like, what do you like? Let's say you were looking. Let's just use pottery as an example.
Yeah.
Because that's mostly our people.
Yeah.
What are you going to look for in that? Like, are you going to look at like branding? Are you going to look at the pieces that they have? Like, what's the?
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of have like for the, I guess, style of the store is very like earth toned, or I mean, there are some brighter colors, but kind of like a bohemian vibe. We have a mix of kind of hippie stuff. It kind of all is, I don't know. It's like
there's some plants in there.
I feel like very boho.
Yeah. So I mean, like obviously, like knowing Ryan, I loved his stuff. He had a lot of like the color like themes we were looking for. And then, like, I found a ceramicist, I'm so bad with this. I don't know if she's technically a ceramicist.
You can say ceramicist,
I'm trying to learn the lingo.
Ceramic artist, ceramicist.
Yeah, Curious Clay. She's really cool. She does, like, a lot of, she said she was a painter turned ceramicist, which I thought was cool. So each of her pieces is, like design, like, each design is 100%, like, unique from the next. So we get some, like, incense
those are cool
things. Yeah, I love her stuff. She does some really cool like I don't know, snack tray stuff too. That's just like gold leaves in there and like different pastel colors. So I think and I like the mix too, where it's hers are very like detailed as far as like the design and paint goes, because it's like a whole scene on something. But then I love how yours are earthy and they've got the tones that we really love, and I love the speckled stuff.
Yeah, the ones I have in there currently are like speckled clay, so it's got the the white or a solid color, so it kind of fits that vibe. It's not like the bright glazes. It's more of the earthy stuff.
Yeah, and it's cool to see like the customers too. Like, I mean, that's the thing. I'm attracted to both, equally. So it's cool to see like kind of who gravitates towards what, and I think it gives a little bit more because if you want something more busy, or if you want something that's a statement piece and go in any room and look good, and I think that's like, I don't know. I think that's cool. So
kind of like fits a vibe that you're going for.
Yeah.
Do you look like? Okay. I'm gonna try to say this well. We'll see. Do you like look at like if you're gonna look at perspective wholesaler or what? Like, what's the first thing you look for? Like, are you looking for craft? Are you looking for like professionalism? Like, are you looking for like obviously are you looking for like cohesive design? Like, what's like? I guess
it's kind of a mix, but I mean, I know you brought up branding. That is a big thing for me. Like, I am caught right off the bat by like the way something looks, and obviously you can't always tell in their photos what something like packaged is going to look like.
Right.
But that has also been a big thing for me too. Like, I've had a few companies that I ordered from, that I bought some like candles from or some incense stuff from, and they sent me free samples, packaged really nicely with a handwritten note. Just of like something that I hadn't even had in my cart. Like, they sent me some incense, and even though I already carry a different brand, I brought it home to like burn it, and I'm like I don't know if I'd consider fully switching, but I might consider carrying two separate. Yeah. Like, because it's a totally different scent, and so that was something that was really cool. Yeah. And I love. I mean, I wrote this free stuff, but also like just getting like a little like that Curious Clay girl. She sent me like a little. Actually, each time I've placed a new order, and I'm like, I don't expect her to do it every time, but kind of like, oh, here's a prototype of something I'm working on, and like, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, yeah, like I like that. So it's cool to feel like you're kind of a part of the process a little bit too, and getting like feedback. So I think
plus you're getting something specific to your shop, sort of. She's kind of letting you in on the, how does this relate to what my customers would like, and here's my feedback for you as a seller of that item potentially. Yeah, it's cool to see like what little add-ins like, or I bought these bath salts from this one company, was it Sky Co, and they're really cool. Like, they have like little dried florals mixed in, and I just love their packaging too. Like, I mean, that's something that obviously has to be in some sort of container. So they had this really cool container. And she sent me a sample of each one so I could try it myself, which I really loved, because certain things, obviously, like, certain home goods, you can't really like try it, but something like that, I do like to try once just to know what to tell the customer. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, oh, have you ever used this? Yes, I have. Yeah. Yeah, I think it helps me sell it that way too. Yeah. If I can, try something and speak on it. Yeah, it's kind of, it's different having all the other people's work in there, because you're selling, you have to talk to their stuff versus just talking to the macrame that you are very involved in, like making, or the woodworking that very well because Tanner makes it. So it's like, I can speak to that because I'm so embedded in it, versus knowing all these other different things and like, hey, what room scent? Like, does this stick around long enough, or is it? Sure. Stuff like that. So, and I like to try and get to know the artist as much as I can. Like, I'll follow them online or try and strike up a conversation every now and then. I mean, I know everybody's got different levels of being busy and whatnot, but that's been something I like. Even though I don't personally know them, getting to feel like I can tell a story. I've asked a few people before. There was a girl when we first opened. I carried some of her necklaces. She was out in Oregon, and I asked her. I was like, when you send this first batch, would you mind kind of just writing up a little something about yourself so that I can, tell your story when people are buying your product. And so that was cool, because she did like I was so waiting for you to tell me that she was like, no. Well, she did. At one point I got worried because she like fell off the face of the earth, and I literally thought she died. Thankfully, I just recently saw she re-edited her Instagram, and she put on there and was like, I finished my goal. I said no social media until after I finished grad school. And I was like, well, thank God. I was like, wish I would have had a heads up, because I was like, I literally thought she died. Because like I went to replace the order, and she was gone. I was like, oh my gosh, she's okay. So I'm glad she's alive. That's the thing with social media people. Like, They can be gone the next day. Like,
Yeah.
you have no
like,
connection.
yeah, it was like, poof. Like, this is horrible. I literally started Googling, like, obituaries with her name, because I was like, is she alive? Like,
Oh, no.
where did she go? Because she had, like, Facebook and Instagram and her Etsy, and I couldn't find a trace of her, and I was like, oh my God, she's gone.
Etsy is not social media.
Yeah, right. That's why I was also kind of like, where did she go?
That's so funny.
Yeah, so, but yeah, basically all to say, I like to try and get to know them a little bit.
Yeah.
Or at least follow them so I can see what new things they're doing. And like one of the printmakers, she's in Kansas City, and she like comes out with new prints almost every other day, if not more frequently. And it's, you know, I tell people that too, because they're like, I love this, oh, but I also like this one. I was like, well, in a week we're going to have a whole new selection, because I love all of her stuff. I just can't, you know, pick one specific style. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Sorry, I feel like I was trailing off a little bit
No,
there.
it's okay. I definitely, as a person that wholesales, I really love to like build relationship. There we go. That's I really like to build that relationship with my clients as well. Like, I go to lunch with them, or like,
that's awesome.
or I make sure that I drop off my order, or you know, call them or whatever.
That's important.
And it does create like a much better, like the place that I sell most frequently at. I've done holiday parties with them,
that's
like
great.
for their employees and stuff, and I'm the highest selling potter of their plant store.
Wow.
So
that's
like
awesome.
you know, and so, but that's also because we have a relationship, and and I know
sell
all
your
of their
stuff better.
Right.
Yeah, and I know all of their employees.
Yeah.
You know,
awesome.
and I think if you are close, that going to that store and introducing yourself and being super friendly is important.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it really helps, and I mean, I don't know, having that personal relationship and knowing somebody, I think, is really important. It does. It's like camaraderie. I don't know.
Yeah.
Recommend
it's
you
like we're
people.
small businesses and we're together.
Yeah.
Like we're in this together. Yeah.
And you can kind of share some of the back and forth with them.
But you do have to be careful. Don't post all of your grievances on the Instagram.
Yes.
I've learned that. I haven't messed up, but like, you know, sometimes I'm like,
yeah.
like, I don't want to be doing this, and I like want to post like, today sucks, I'm doing these planters. I'm like, oh, I can't say that.
Yeah, I feel like I've been guilty of that once, and then I was like, I felt better after I did it, but then immediately I was like, should I not post that? Because I mean, I followed this, and I'm not dropping any names, but I followed this one guy who went on a tangent, like, and I was like, oh, like that really turned me off to ever ordering anything from him again, because it was like, well, I never ordered anything to begin with. I wanted to. He was a completely different realm of, it wasn't like a product necessarily from the store, but I watched this guy go on this crazy tangent about a customer, and I was like a paying customer or something like that, and I was just like, oh, I was like, and I know I've been slightly guilty of that myself, but I tried my hardest not to post it, but I mean, everybody deals with not great people, but after seeing that, I was like, oh, and then he like kept posting days after days, were like still just complaining, and I was like, dude, like,
I learned that lesson really early on too. I had a really hard client who was a wholesale client, and she didn't know what a reseller's permit was, which was like infuriating to me. But after that, it's been like 7 years, and I don't think I've ever, I don't think I've actually talked about any customer or any wholesaler on social media, and that's why. Yeah. And it's like, it's really hard, but you have to do it. Like, obviously you can say the great things about people, but like, when you're having a tough day, you gotta keep it to yourself. Yeah.
Or like take a day and then think about whether you really want to do it the next day or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, clearer mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, like, we forget that people are watching. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, I post that I have shitty days all the time. Yeah. But it's not because of anybody. Sure. Yeah. It is because of myself. Right.
I had many of those. I'm like, why can't I focus?
Yeah.
So with COVID going on the last few months, how have you all kind of have been ramping up opening Nomad? Yeah. That's been kind of the focus the last few months, right? How does that affected the Coda Co business as well, and shows and stuff like that?
It got a little crazy because we got a little spread thin for a while, and at the beginning of the year, one of my goals was to hire people, and then after COVID hit, I really wasn't sure if that was going to happen, so that was hard, but thankfully, I mean, our online picked up when we were closed, which was a really great surprise, and we were able to come out of that, and thankfully now we have your wife and 2 other awesome employees who have helped out. So honestly, hiring people, I was so nervous, and I was like, oh gosh, like what if we get slow again, and like I would hate to like hire someone and have to cut their hours back and, you know, not be consistent for them, and like can we afford it and all that. But that was definitely one of the best things we could have done, because they've kind of taken the reins and taken a lot off of my plate, like just the stuff that just, it's not necessarily like certain things aren't difficult, they just take so much time, and it's like, I mean, then there's other difficult things that they do too.
Yeah, it's like what do you want to spend your time doing, and what is the most bang for your buck that like only you can do that's going to push your business forward or give you focus to Nomad so you can get Nomad to where it needs to be, or
absolutely
stuff like that.
So that was a huge help, and a scary leap, but I'm so glad that it worked out. And I think now that we're open here and we've kind of had, you know, the last month to slowly get into a flow, I think that's been nice, because I'm just somebody, I'm so disorganized in so many other ways, but if I don't have like a plan, like my planner with me, or like, you know, an idea of where I'm supposed to be when, I freak out. Like I can't not know. And so that's been the struggle a little bit with here, is we're trying to, you know, we just hired a few people for Nomad and just trying to figure out who can be where when. That I'm like, you know, I want to make sure we all still have off days. I want to make sure that we all are, you know, healthy when we're working. Like, because I feel like sometimes we just work so much, and it's like, I feel like a zombie. And it's like, you know, gotta get away and do something else for a little bit. So,
is Nomad and Coda Co, are those the only things that you do?
So,
you and your husband?
Yeah, so, I was, and I've now stepped back from it. I used to work at a vet clinic full-time before Coda Co, and then this past winter I went back just part-time while the shop was slow. So I was doing that, but then it kind of got drawn out a little bit longer because they had me working on like a renovation project. So I was kind of trying to step away, but I had to finish that. So that
was all paid, or was that volunteer?
It was like I'd be on the clock there, and then anything that Tanner had to come in and help for, they would like give him his hourly rate, which we still have a couple last touches to finish, but it was one of those things where it's like I knew in the back of my head to finish that, and then we, for a while, were like dog sitting pretty heavily, which was awesome money, but then we started just getting so busy where I was like, all right, we have to cut something out because we have like 1,000 dogs at the house, and I'm
timing
like,
of all that with communication with people to meet up at the right times.
Yes,
available
and that
here,
was hard
drop me off here.
too. Yeah, like I had literally dogs getting dropped off at Coda Co because I was like, well, I can't run home and like whatever, so I guess just bring your dog here and I can hang out with me at the shop. But hopefully it's, I mean, most of them we watched before and knew how they'd be, but yeah, so it was kind of a lot of stuff. We were like, all right, what can we cut out or slow down on so we can slowly be focused on this? And Tanner does home inspections, kind of as his full-time thing, but thankfully it's something he can schedule to fit everything in.
It's flexible with that.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster as everyone's experienced this year, but now I kind of feel like we're starting to be like, all right, there's a flow, and so once I'm in the flow, then I'm good. But I mean, you know, I take literally like 3 weeks to respond to text. It's horrible.
Rachel was telling me you have like 90 unreads or something like that.
Yeah, I finally went through them the other day because I woke up in the morning. I was like, okay, let's stop and think before I start my day. I'm like, what stresses me out? I'm like, probably the like 95 unread text messages that I have. And because normally I'm the person, if I see something in the notification, I have to click it. But then it like got too crazy. And then it gave me anxiety to look at it, so I just never
looked at text. You can't mark text as unread after you've read it.
Yeah.
So if you've read it, it's like, okay, it's out of my brain if I forget about it.
Yeah, like I would mentally respond, but not actually ever physically
That sounds
respond.
like my literal nightmare.
It's the worst. So
I'm like, seriously, like, I'm the same way. I have to click the notification. Like, I can't have any of those little red bubbles.
Oh, they drive me crazy.
I can't, like, no emails, no nothing. Like, one time on Facebook, it was my email. It had one bubble, and it said that one email was unread. And I couldn't find it. For 3 weeks, I couldn't find it, and it was nowhere to be found. I don't know how I think I actually deleted the app and reinstalled it. Like, seriously, I could do it. But that sounds literally like my hell.
Yeah, I didn't realize that I had such high anxiety until all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, I think I have really high anxiety because I'm like, I can't breathe looking at all this stuff. So, yeah.
Did you get through all the texts?
I got through most of them. And I felt bad because some of them, like, I could still respond to and just apologize heavily for, and then some were, like, just way too far past. Yeah, I was like,
That's where I'm like, I can write her on Instagram, and she'll probably respond. And Rachel's the same way. She's like, she'll probably respond on Instagram through Coda Co. So maybe put it there and maybe text her. We'll get it through one or the other.
He messaged me on Instagram saying, "Hi, I texted you," and then I was like, "Hi, I see." And then he was like, and then I was like, I responded. He's like, I also responded. And I was like, keeping me on track. And I was like, okay.
Well, it's funny because when he was texting you about like times and stuff, I'm just like you. Just so you know, I'm like, we've literally planned a podcast in the morning, and I forgot all about it. And at 2 p.m. he was like, "Where are you?"
Oh God.
And I was like, "Give me 10 minutes, because I forgot." And so anyway, and he was like, "Well, maybe I'll just give her a couple days." So I was like, "No. Say Tuesday at this time. How does that? Is that okay?"
Yes.
And
tell me where I need to be and when.
You're like 2 options if you like pick one, and we'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm like the
or
most
one
indecisive
option.
human too, so that doesn't help me at all.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny.
So with the balancing of it, you just had to kind of assess, because once you got, you hired people, that unloaded some of the effort and some of the time and focus that you needed in the shop to like, hey, I'm supposed to have shop hours that are open these days instead of just closing these days.
Yeah.
Because right now you have to be at Nomad
when
it's open, right?
Yes, and so, I mean, it's one of those things where at first I thought, like, Nomad opens at 4, so I was like, well, if I left straight after Coda Co, or, like, ran home really quick, let the dogs out, then came back, I was like, I don't really need someone at Coda Co. At first was my thought. But then, like, as we first opened, because I think I don't know if I had anybody quite on there yet. I think I had one girl who was doing, like, maybe every other Saturday. And so I was like, I'll just try it. And then I was like, that sucked. I'm not doing that again. So it was kind of like, I don't want to go from basically working like 11 to midnight every Friday, Saturday.
And I would imagine the mental drain of working retail is way different than the mental drain of working at, I guess this is hospitality, or not hospitality. Service, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because like, I like the change of pace, but I totally forgot about server dreams. And now I have nightmares all the time about, like, I forgot to bring them their ranch, or, like, the milkshake machine's not working. Like, and it's funny because I used to have them all the time when I used to work at Keystone in Covington. And it was just, like, the most ridiculous, like, or you'd see a table in the distance, and they're just livid. And you're their server, and they know that. And you just can't get to them. It's like slow motion. You can, like, see them through a window, and it's like, I'm like, oh, my God, their food's
This isn't a nightmare or a dream?
Yes.
A nightmare.
Yeah. Well, I guess. So whatever you want to call
it. A dream of a nightmare.
Yeah. And it's like one of those things where I'm like, oh gosh, it's been 3 hours, they still don't have their food. Like, whereas a normal person, if it was 3 hours and they didn't get their food, they would have left. These people just continue to stay, and I'm like looking around, like,
there's glass, like, I can't get through.
Yeah, like, I'm right here. So that's been interesting to have those nightmares come back. So take a little CBD oil to help kind of calm me down a bit, but.
So I bet it was really hard to make that decision first to like start paying somebody. It's like I need to release this load off of me, so it's not just dragging you down because you're only capable of so much. Yeah,
it's been tough, and again, it's been awesome to have people like Rachel who just take the lead and like find things to like just improve on, which makes me feel so much better too, because that was one thing I'm like, I know that there's gotta be better systems out there for what I'm doing, but my brain doesn't always work that way. So
and
to
your
have
brain's
someone
already really busy with other things too.
Yeah.
So it's like.
So to have somebody else who can be like, hey, like let's try this, or hey, organize things this way. It's like, oh, wonderful! Like that takes so much off. So yes, that's been helpful. It's been a big. Although now it's like the only stresses I have is I keep getting these notifications about. Now that I have employees, I have to pay all these other taxes and stuff,
Oh,
and
God.
like, and
Do you
I'm
have
like,
a bookkeeper?
no, I need to get one really bad.
Now.
That's my next goal. Actually, he called someone earlier today.
Yeah, like yesterday.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
Now I'm just like, oh God, I have to pay taxes all the time. But yeah, or more taxes.
Yeah,
I know. That's like
yeah.
so stressful. Like I don't have employees anymore, but I did.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, I kind of just dropped that, and I don't know if I'm supposed to like call LNI and say like I'm done.
Yeah.
Like I will not have employees again.
What's LNI? Is that the service?
Labor
that
and
pays?
industry.
Oh, okay.
Or like because there's so many taxes that I have to pay.
Yeah.
Like, the last time I paid taxes, apparently I paid like way too much, and like I got a check back, and which was good. But then I'm like suspicious, and like it's just all these things, and it's honestly like I was going to use. Do you use Square?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you use the Square
payroll?
Mm-hmm. Because they file everything for you.
Well, now they're telling me I have to fill something else out before they file something, and I like called this other business or this other thing. They're like, no, you don't have to pay that yet until you reach this amount. So I'm like, what is it gonna file my stuff for me?
It probably files it, but you don't have to pay.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but like Square does it, and at some point I was like, when I had employees, like the last one I had, I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna have somebody do it for me because this is so I can't keep track. I had to like take all these notes and make sure, and I always missed one every single time.
And then you don't want to be responsible for whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they find you.
You're at,
Ignorance is not bliss in business.
Well, that was one thing too that kind of has been like ringing in the back of my mind is our insurance guy or I went to say friends and buddies, and I don't know what I just said.
Freddy's.
Freddy's.
The friendlies.
He like keeps mentioning to me. He's like, the best business decision I've ever done is to hire an accountant.
Yeah.
He's like, at first I didn't want to pay it.
I agree.
Yeah, and he's like, but now that I have, he's like, I don't have to worry about a thing, and I'm like, oh, that sounds so lovely.
No, and you will mess up.
Yeah.
It's just when you will.
I probably already have.
And hopefully it's at the beginning and not the end.
Yeah.
You know? Because when you do it at the end, it's a lot more expensive to fix.
That's true.
I mean, sometimes. I'm just like praying that like 7 years can't come fast enough. Because then every 7 years I don't have to worry about the one before that. Like number 8.
Forgive you or something?
Yeah, the IRS
nice.
only looks back 7 years, and I'm like, all the mistakes that I made in my first year is gone. Like,
that's good to know. That gives me hope.
Yeah, well, we've got a few years to go because I'm in the same boat you are. Same timeline.
Oh gosh. So how do you balance out all the different ways of the shows and inventory you need for that versus the shop versus online? And
yeah, that's been something recently. Since I haven't been able to be stocked up with my own stuff, I've been doing a lot of custom work. I have been bringing clothing to the shows and whatnot, and then I have online stock too. So at first what I was doing, because I wasn't sure how much stock to have on hand, basically when you buy clothes, you buy like a pack, so you get like 2 smalls, 2 mediums, 2 larges, 2 extra larges, or whatever. And you can't like break the pack, so that's kind of hard too, at certain sizes.
So you can't say like I know my customer base is going to be a lot of mediums and larges.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, you
smalls
can't
and
just
mediums.
reorder mediums and larges, you have to get the whole thing, which is kind of frustrating.
That sucks.
Yeah. So at first I was only buying like 1 pack of each thing. So because in my head I was like, well, I'd rather have lots of different options rather than have a lot of a couple of options, I guess, if that makes sense. But then I quickly realized like, well, that means like there's only 2 of, each size, and
If it
you
sells
then have
out,
to,
then the turnaround is going to be longer
Right.
to get more of it.
yeah, and sometimes you're not able to reorder the same things because they just sell out of it, like the supplier sells out. So I started buying like double packs. So I was like, okay, 1 pack will go out to the floor, the other pack stays in the back for online stock, or when showtime comes around, it's show stock. So like Actually, I just put a bunch of stuff out for Rachel for tomorrow. Just like, okay, all right, now I've got to start getting all my online stuff unpacked out of its like wrapping and prepped for this weekend. Because that way I don't have to take it off the floor. Because when we first started doing City Fleet, I mean, we would empty the store. And
what's City Fleet?
Yeah, I'm doing that one too. So
it's in Washington Park in Cincinnati.
Okay.
It's just a like big thing of just makers or small business owners, and usually they have like hundreds of vendors, which they've kind of cut back with all the COVID stuff. But yeah, it's awesome. They do it like 10 to 4 every third Saturday of the month, starting from like May to December.
Nice.
November, yeah.
Okay, sorry, continue.
No, you're good. So yeah, they as far as like stock stuff goes, yeah, I've been trying to have back stock so that is reserved for online. So Rachel and I are actually working on a system, whether it's a Google Doc or like something they just signed. So if they have to restock the front, then they write down something or they record it somewhere so I know I can go at the end of the day and remove it from online.
Because your online system is not Square, is that right?
Right. It used to be, but I didn't really like the way that it was set up, although I've heard they've redone it, and now I'm like, great, I could just
wait. How did you have? How was it?
I just didn't like the shipping, huh?
Was it Weebly?
I don't know what that is.
Was it like a Square Online that was?
Yeah, like they had templates
limited?
for an online store, but their shipping was really weird. Like they had where you had to have basically base shipping, so they could get as many items as they wanted, but they'd pay like $5. And I'm like, well, what if they get really heavy stuff? Because we have wood products. It's not all,
That's
lighter clothing or whatever.
Work, yeah.
Yeah, so I switched to Wix, and it's kind of sort of like how Etsy does it. Etsy I still think does it the best, but as far as shipping costs go. But it's more similar to that than Square was. So yeah, the two systems don't talk to each other, which is also
Yeah, so you have
hard.
to maintain two inventories.
You should, yeah.
But at the shop you have Square is your point of sale, and then at a show, Square is your point of sale.
Yeah, so at least that's across the board.
Right.
But as far as online goes, I have to keep that separately in the back of my...
You should look into the Weebly. It's improved.
Okay.
Weebly actually bought Square.
Weebly bought Square. No,
Oh,
Square
really?
bought Weebly. Sorry, Square bought Weebly. A year ago?
Weebly's like Wix.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a,
But it is a little dumbed down for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as shipping goes, it's pretty okay. Now, I can't remember. It's like if you want like insanely good rates for shipping.
Yeah.
Not rates, but if you want insanely like good
like estimates
options
and
and estimates for
Yeah.
shipping, it's like freaking expensive.
Yeah.
But
You're saying because you have to pay a third party that handles
no,
all the
no,
shipping
no,
integration?
Shippo
That's
is
what's
the third party, but
That's who I
is-
think Wix uses.
yeah, Shippo is through Weebly too, and they're actually great, and they have the
Yeah.
same discount as Etsy actually.
Well, shoot. So you're telling me Square now uses the same thing I have now? I don't have my Square anymore. I should just go back to Square.
It might. I mean, you could look into it.
Yeah.
Look into just what you can do is just go to the Square dashboard and do online checkout.
Yeah.
And
see what it
just
looks like.
look at it, because then you can see if the shipping will,
Yeah.
I do flat rate shipping because it's just easier for me,
Right.
and I add $5 on the back end of every product online as
yeah.
opposed to in
makes
the
sense.
store.
Sure.
Like in my store, it's like locals get it for $5 less,
That makes sense.
and nobody seems to have an issue with it just because they're gonna pay that shipping regardless.
Right.
But
It's kind of a mental shift of...
yeah, it's kind of a mental shift, and that's basically what that's what Amazon's doing anyway.
Yeah.
Prime,
Right.
Prime, they just make it $10 more. That's what they do.
Yeah,
And
it's so true.
it's so true, and you're gonna pay for it regardless. I'm really open about it, but I'm sure some people would be upset about it, but really,
I feel like it makes sense though.
yeah. For pottery, it's like you buy.
Otherwise, you get screwed on the shipping, and you're responsible for the shipping costs. And
Right.
Yeah,
you're
that's
losing
happened many
$5
times.
and $7 of the shipping
Yeah,
because it just comes out of your
I
product.
mean,
that
like,
you're profit you're making.
the way pottery works is usually for me, one piece is gonna be $10, so that $5 flat rate shipping plus the $5 added to their piece, $10. 2 pieces are usually gonna be $15.
Yeah.
5 plus two 5s, that's 15. So it works out for me, but
Right.
but it is hard with those weird shapes and everything like that.
Yeah.
But what you can do is put in the box size. for the items, and that calculates out in the shipping, which is nice.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of back end work, which I'm not willing to do.
That's where I'm at. That's why I'm like, if I had just waited it out, Square would be nice because I love Square's reporting.
It's fantastic.
Wix is confusing. They've tried it. It seems like today I was looking at it and they've tried to kind of like fix it, but it's still just not great. Yeah. At least from the way my brain works, I like Square.
That's exactly
when you've had the cream of the crop with Square, it's like the other ones just don't do as well. Or...
I used to have Squarespace, and that's exactly why I like dumped Squarespace and went with Weebly a year ago, and I'm very happy. There's a few things that I fucking hate about it. But I'm very I do updates, and it's a pain in the ass to.
Right.
You can't just say this will be ready at 5.
Right.
You can't just mass update. It takes a little time, but but it is nice.
Yeah.
I feel like we should just be a fucking sponsor for Weebly.
I know at this point.
And Square.
Weebly and Square.
Give us your money, please. Or just a free month.
So with not having the shows this summer, did you just start doing the City Fleas? Those are kind of your main in-person shows that you do?
Yeah. We signed up for Off Market too, but they haven't put out anything about...
Yeah, I think they
just straight up canceled, which is probably good too, because it's more enclosed there. But, City Flea's been our main one, and I'm kind of waiting for them to kick us out. I don't want them to, but I've heard from a few other vendors,
like you've been around too long?
Yeah, they give you so many years, and then they're like, okay, gotta bring someone new in, which makes sense. So that's also, I'm I don't know if they've realized this. Probably they haven't even realized it, but I've, tried to bring different product every so often, so I'm so we look fresh and look like we're totally new, even if we're not. Which I don't know if I don't know if they're noticing that at all, or if they just... I don't know. So I'm kind of waiting for them to kick us out, but...
Do they add, are they, City Flea, is it something that is bringing you revenue that makes it worth it, a lot of revenue?
Yeah, I mean, that's what has been fantastic about them is, each month it's I don't have to worry about rent and then some, because it's I don't know. You can usually expect $1,000 to $2,000, I think, per show. Which I'm
safely.
Which
and
is
it's
great.
It's a $90 booth.
Yeah, so it's totally worth it. And that's been that's what was hard when they canceled the first couple, because we were desperate.
That was rent.
Yeah. Oh shit! Now where are we gonna get this from? No, the store still does well enough, but those are always really good. You don't have to even think about it. It's a lot of work, but you don't have to worry about the money so much. You're going to always have that one good day every month.
It's kind of a Friday, Saturday work that you put into prep the vehicle, and then do all the work on Saturday, and then it's a relief at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then you're I'm rich until you have to pay rent in 2 weeks. But
I felt that way a week ago.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah. But, it's a good show, for sure.
That's good. It's good to have something that's stable.
Yeah. I hope they still keep us in.
Yeah,
they're listening.
It's a good.
Kick me out.
It's a good show because it's got that kind of reputation. There's a lot of shows like that in the Cincinnati area that are monthly, whether it's the Off Market or the City Flea or the different farmers markets or West Side.
Sure, yeah.
So there's that, and then they've just been around a long time, and the setting is perfect. It's right outside of Music Hall, and it's a beautiful day to stroll around and get lunch, and I think it's just it's good for the vendors, and you all fit well into that theme and the vibe of the show.
Thank you.
It's not really an art show. I wouldn't say it's different. But it's not like a flea either. I don't feel like.
Right. Yeah.
It's like an upscale flea.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because I feel at first they had a lot of where it was just people who made things. Now it's more before we brought the clothes, and that's kind of I still almost feel icky about it. I don't know why.
Because you're the new LuLaRoe.
But right. Well, because it's all before then, it was always our stuff. We would prep and bring all of our homemade stuff. And I always felt it's the flea. That's what you're supposed to do. And now that I'm bringing more stuff that
there's so many apparel companies there.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of clothing.
There is.
But you all have different clothing because it's not just Cincinnati themed stuff on the shirts.
Yeah.
But you had overalls.
I did have overalls. I love those overalls. It was one of those things where I almost felt weird that it wasn't the stuff that we made. I almost felt like I was cheating.
I get that.
These people had to prep for months to get all their product, and I'm just order, and mean, not that that's not.
But like, also, isn't it like the best feeling in the world when you're, because I like, it's like, oh, let me just order this. Oh, it came. Oh, it's you bought this. Hey, you just paid for the order. Thanks.
Yeah, well, that's what's crazy is like the clothes. Like I said, I mean, since doing that, I'm like, why didn't we do clothes years ago? Because it's been like the one consistent thing. Like the great thing is we still are selling everything else too.
Yeah.
But that's been like now the highest seller thing. Like, so I'm glad it's, and in a weird way, I don't know if, again, this is just in my head or if it's really true, but I found that the clothes almost seems to like up the value of everything else, which doesn't make sense, but
because it's a boutique.
Yeah, like people don't question. Like I had at one show, I had a mix of like my macrame and the clothing, and every now and then I'll like see people, whisper about the tags on the macrame or like try and talk me down. But when I'd have the clothes there, I didn't notice it, and I was like, I wonder why. But
That's
like maybe it's like,
I think that people are just so used to paying so much for clothes.
maybe that's what it is.
Like I mean, I don't pay so much for clothes, but
Like, what's the
but
price range of those
I will use an
clothes, too?
example. This draperin,
Yeah.
like everybody listening probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. But like my dress apron, is I bought it at a show.
Yeah.
I traded it for, it was a roundabout. I traded one of my wholesalers an entire like thing, and then she bought it for me from the lady at a discount because she was buying 6. So we did a straight trade for it, but it was retailed at like $220. Like,
what?
Fucking ridiculous. Like, I would never buy that.
Yeah.
Never. But like, people were flocking.
That's what I don't.
Because, well, I mean, it's shit anyway.
It's
but
handmade,
like,
right?
and if I went back and I found her again, I'd buy another one.
Yeah.
I would pay the $200.
That's awesome.
Because this has lasted me 3 years. But yeah, like, people are just so used to paying, and especially if it's handmade clothes.
Yeah.
Like, which I know yours isn't, but if it is, they're like, oh yeah, $200, $100, $150.
Right.
Like, a shirt for $95.
I know, that like is being way.
Like, what?
Yeah, but then it's like at the same time, I've not really sewn very many clothes in my life, but when I have, I'm like, that, like I can appreciate the work.
So
like,
makes
that's where I'm
sense.
like, yeah, like it, like that is worth it if it's handmade. If it's not though, yeah.
If it's made in China.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, it's crazy. But some people mark up stuff even. Like sometimes I see the same stuff. Again, I won't company name, but it's like a big brand that has the exact same. Like I noticed this summer they had the exact same dress as me. And they were charging, like, definitely, like, $80 more than I was. And I was like, damn.
So kind of based on your market as well
Yeah.
as what the customers
But they were a
coming
big
in your door
name
are willing
brand,
to
so
pay,
it's
and then
expected, yeah.
your brand brings that value up too. So it's
Right, yeah. And they were
sort of
very
legitimizes it,
well-known.
but it's also like, hey, I could buy it here.
And I was like, oh, guys, anybody who likes these couple brands that are very, these well-known
If you've been looking
things,
at these,
I'm like,
then...
I got you. $8 less.
I think that if I as a normal-ish human being was walking downtown Bellevue, which is very similar to downtown Monroe, except for downtown Monroe is not this like poppin'. If I was walking that and I saw your store, I would immediately assume that your clothing is a lot of money, which would then make me assume that everything else in that store is up to par with that.
I hope that maybe that's like...
I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
But,
I know what you're saying. Because I've actually had some people where... I mean, I always love hearing it because it makes me finally feel like... I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. Yeah, because people are like, oh, wow, you have great prices. I mean, sometimes you have like little old ladies who say quite the latter. But I feel like I've heard some people kind of like, oh, I like kind of thought this would be more. And I was like, oh, good.
I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and I'm like, sweet, that's the goal. Like, you know.
if you can find the price where people think it's more, but it's just a touch less,
right.
So they're happy about it, but it's still more.
Right. Yeah.
You're golden. You've just won. You've won all of them.
I'm trying so hard.
Like if you get that comment, I thought these would be more, but you're making 2.5%, like 250% more.
Yeah. Happy dance.
Happy dance. You just won the internet and the world.
Yeah.
So with the pricing, I had some talk with you separately about macrame and the handmade part of it. How does the pricing of that, and you say you're doing more customs now, and like keeping up with the inventory is tough.
Yeah.
How do you figure out how you should price things and?
Yeah, I definitely kind of reevaluated the beginning of this year, looking at what I wanted to pay myself hourly, and I still don't really know. I mean, I've talked to different people who make all sorts of different things, and it's funny because everybody has different rates for what they like pay themselves on an hourly or whatever. But since upping it, and I honestly have kind of looked at potentially upping it a little bit more because right now there is a demand, and it's hard for, like you just said, like to just keep up with it in general and just like crank out pieces after pieces when I have to like do custom work. So I've been trying to like evaluate that whole thing, and I don't want to be overly expensive. I don't want to, be not paying myself what I do feel like, when all the hours are put in. So it's been an interesting. I'm still not really sure 100% on if I'm.
What are you thinking about paying yourself hourly?
I think I was between 20 and 25.
What?
What's the for the potters out there that what would you say a general potter? Like, what would you say your hourly rate?
My hourly rate's 35.
35.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, mine's probably 30.
That's not what I get paid.
5-ish,
yeah,
but that's what I like.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like I factor that in. So, like for instance, of course, like the thing about material costs, like generally is lower when it comes to like you get a lot out of one, roll of rope or whatever.
Yeah.
So I will usually try and take my materials and like double it, so at least it's like, okay, I've made what I needed to make back as far as the cost goes, and now I can use that extra money to make another one or something like that. So I'm like, I guess I will usually try and double the cost of the rope, and then add my hourly on top of that, and then I kind of like.
Are you good at estimating time for
no,
how long it
I
takes
suck at estimating time.
Also, I should add that I actually did a video recently, and somebody was like, "You forgot to add in, what do they call them? G&M taxes, or not taxes, but costs, and that's basically your square footage of your store.
Oh yeah.
Your how much your store costs, or how much your apartment costs, or whatever that you're using." Like the space that you're using and the utilities that you're paying. So
that's true.
my monthly expenses roughly is $2,500.
Yeah.
Right? And so you need
that
to
needs to factor into what you charge per piece, because that piece selling should
because
be
that
paying towards that.
That's
true.
So
that's
basically I think you divide that by how many hours.
Right.
It's some equation that I did once.
Yeah.
But not again.
Yeah. And you could probably, in a smart way, calculate the time, because you start at a certain time and you finish at a certain time, and you can
Yeah, I try to track my hours. So I'm bad about that too.
It's different than pottery in that you
right.
can start and finish,
Stages,
and you can kind of do it in increments versus touching a thing 8 times before it's done.
Right, yeah. I try to make sure I set a timer, but it's hard, especially when I'm at the shop, because I'll get interrupted by somebody coming in, and then I forget to pause it, and I'm how much time do I think I generally spend with that customer? And so now I kind of have moved most of my stuff home, so that, not that I have a whole lot of days home still, but Thursday mornings or something now, where I know Rachel will be at the shop, I'll be okay, I have a few things I can do at the shop, but at least I'll use the morning to, work from home and try and get some stuff done, and I feel like that helps, because at least it's uninterrupted.
What's the hourly rate if you got to a point where you were comfortable having people man the shop more while you're spending time making? You're gonna make $30 an hour making something,
right?
Versus and pay somebody $10 to $12 or whatever an hour for retail. That your time could be more beneficial, then you don't get interrupted, or you could do something different. But
the hard part is I'm really ADD too, so even being at home, I try to be uninterrupted, and I've tried to make my office where I'm good, but I always find a reason. I'm I could use a snack, and mosey off, and that's why I think sometimes being at home is hard, because then I'm distracted by I could go clean my room or do some laundry, and it's I just think of those things. So I try and be good about.
Do you have a day off in the week?
Sundays are mainly, and then I do technically have Mondays off, but Mondays are my reset day, so it's like my day. I'm just clean the house all day.
Okay, so but you do make sure to take a day.
Yes, that's our biggest thing we've been working on. Like, so Sundays we try and make it like our date day because we both work all the time, and that's the only day we both have off together. So that's been nice, and we're trying to make it where it's like we do something away from Bellevue, so we don't have to like. Because
you know the community.
Oh my God,
you're in it.
Down the street. Yeah, I mean, I love seeing everybody. I love waving to everybody. But I'm like, sometimes I feel like I can't relax. I feel like I always have to be like on guard. I'm going to see somebody or, whatever. So it's like, I'm like, we can get out and just go somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know, we were in your shop and your husband waved at somebody walking past, and I was like, this is just like Monroe.
Yeah. I mean, I love that.
I do too.
But
it's
on
great.
days off, you're like, leave me alone.
Yeah, I do too, but it's really tough. I literally cannot walk across a crosswalk without seeing a car of somebody I know and them honking and then slowing down and be like, hey, how are you doing?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because the Coda Co shop is in Bellevue, Nomad is 2 blocks down.
Yeah.
And then your house is 5 blocks away, so you're in
it's
a half a mile proximity. So it's like.
Yeah. And it's like for those of you who've never been here, it is literally it's like a main street of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Down the street, small. And then it's very small. I would say maybe from being here briefly, maybe 5 blocks, 6 blocks.
Probably, yeah.
6 blocks of older style buildings and bars and restaurants and the occasional insurance agents.
Yeah.
Agency.
Right.
Shout out to Sean.
But I think there was one, stoplights, but they're the little ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's I don't even want to say love-hate, because I don't ever think I hate it, but it's one of those things where, it's hard to relax, because...
You do have to have an escape.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
It's definitely important.
Yeah.
So are there any other, are you going to stick with this for a while? I don't know if this is too invasive or not, but, so you can tell me if it's not, or if it is, but, I was curious because, I had a friend recently that opened up a bar, and the initial investment was insane. And I was wondering if that's something that you did. Did you finance? Did you, what made this a good choice, if that makes any sense? Because, sometimes I feel when people start businesses, they're, grasping on the straws. I don't know if you are or not. I don't know you. No, I don't know you. But but what made this a realistic decision?
So I think a lot of it was we kind of, in a weird way, got lucky with. I mean, I hate to say lucky with COVID because that's not a great.
No, we all did. I've done great.
But it's the landlords here were fantastic. We saved as much as we could, and we had some savings set aside and having business partners obviously helps, and they put in a chunk too, but it was kind of where we weren't putting in a ton all at once. It was spanned out for one because kind of COVID, we couldn't open, so which sucked. But the landlords here were fantastic. They cut us a huge break on rent, which we just really did get lucky with that. They kind of used a lot of our renovations because we did all the renovations ourselves.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you. It was very different looking in here when we started, so I think they were really appreciative that we upped the value as far as what it looked like inside of here, and used that as a trade in a way. And then also they had a few things they still want us to do, some painting and whatnot for the outside of the back of the building. So we had stripped everything down, but we hadn't painted it yet, and that'll probably wait till spring. But just kind of trading with them has been a big thing. But, I mean, initially, right before we opened, it was, that kind of, all right, what do we need to get, actually open? So we had, bought a lot of stuff secondhand, there's...
restaurant equipment you can find everywhere.
Yes, yeah, so that was huge. And then, a lot of furniture, some of the stuff's Coda Co stuff. All the plants was nice because I have a wholesaler for that. All the furniture was off of Bid FTA, which is a local auction website.
Oh, nice. I love all the furniture. I'm
that
this chair is the shit.
This chair is nice.
I got all of these actually off of that.
They're fantastic.
That couch I got off Facebook Marketplace for free.
Hell yeah.
That was great. It's a little sad, but...
No, it's not. It looks so comfortable.
It is pretty comfortable. It's pretty worn in. But, so a lot of stuff, it was just trying to be resourceful. But I mean, right before we opened, when we had to place like the initial alcohol order, food order, then rent starting and all of that, that was sucky for sure. Because then it was like, I mean, I remember like within like 3 days, they were like, we had to pay like $8,000 of stuff, and I was like, I wasn't expecting that, so that sucked. And then we had like a $4,000 plumber bill that we weren't necessarily expecting. Like we had to move a sink from one wall to the same wall, but just on the other side. And I don't know why that cost $4,000, but that happened. So it was kind of like, that was a huge shock. And I mean, thankfully we've had good credit with like paying off credit cards, so we put a lot of stuff on that so that we could pay off, and then whatever we could take comfortably out of our savings we would use. Yeah. So I mean, it was definitely like a stressful jump, but it was one of those things where we, between the owners, were like, all right, we're not going to pay ourselves. Like right now we're paying the employees an hourly, and then we're all splitting tips since we're all working. So the tip sharing's been great. So we are getting a little bit of cash in our pockets to make sure all of that's legal. But you know, like setting up like how we can pay ourselves eventually. But we took it like, we're like, we won't take an actual paycheck for you know, however long we need to, if you know, as long as we
small businesses, right?
You just know you're not going to make
industry,
anything.
It's like,
oh yeah,
sure, it's pretty crazy.
I feel like it's like when you're like, oh, my hourly rate is $35 an hour, but all of that goes back into the business anyway.
Well, exactly.
So I don't think it's like, really I just live off of peanuts.
Yeah. I know, that's all I'm like, at least with Coda Co, I'm like, well, I can clothe myself now for wholesale prices, so that's nice.
That's very convenient.
Left over.
Yeah. That's how I think. That's the thing. I don't think I actually pay myself money from Coda Co. I just pay myself in taking some things out of my stock that we might need. Like, we're like, oh, good, I have a soap supplier so we can bathe. That's good.
Yeah,
and have some clothes, but yeah, so it's definitely like a sacrifice, I think, as far as like how much you might be used to getting hourly. But once it's open too, we're like, as long as it's a self-sustaining thing and we don't have to pour anything more in.
Has it been pretty self-sustaining?
So far, so good. And I mean, we're only open 3 days a week, so it's been kind of, and before it was, we only just recently, the past 2 weeks, did 3 days. It was 2 days for the first month, and I mean, we haven't quite ran everything yet, but I mean, we were surprised. I think the alcohol helps because that's a great market. If you have alcohol, people will spend tons of money.
Alcohol, like, you can't make, my friend always says that restaurants bring no money, but alcohol brings all of it. Like, if you're in a bar, you're fine.
Yeah, so I think that helped. And I mean, the community down here is great. Like, we love everybody at Darkness. We're great friends with them. And Three Spirits next, like, are a couple doors down. So now I think, too, that there's, like, 3 alike businesses, it actually helps people because they're, like...
Pub crawl.
Well, they can get different things that you're also... What are the specialty things they can get here that they can't get at Darkness or...
So our, like, big thing, we have, like, the boozy milkshakes and then these loaded tater tot baskets. So it's like a twist on, you know, fries in a shake. It's boozy stuff.
So what's the boozy in it? Is it vodka or?
We have a few. We have like bourbon and vodka and a rum one. I don't think we have a tequila one yet, but I've been looking into doing that.
Y'all had some cocktails.
Did you do a tequila slushy?
Ooh, yeah. See, I want to get some like sorbets or something too. So it's like that way, if people are dairy free, they can still have something.
Oh my god, tequila with sorbet would be fucking dope. I would drink that because I don't like. I think I'm like a touch too lactose intolerant for milkshakes.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
Find
a way to make that happen for sure. Hopefully next time you come visit, we'll have that down. But so it's nice because I do feel like next door at Three Spirits they have like a full-on bar, so you can get any drink you want there. Here we're not full-on, but we have kind of funky things, but also liquor and wine. So that helps because across the street you can only get beer or cider. So it kind of like works out that everybody kind of has a little thing different.
And I'm sure this is a different feel than that bar over there.
For sure. Everybody's kind of got a different vibe, which is kind of cool too. Like, and like, I mean, our like main clientele is all different in some sense. A little bit like whoever's like, you know, there as a regular versus there as a regular. And I mean, we're not sure if we have regulars yet.
Not yet.
But we've had a few people we've seen a couple times, so hopefully they'll be regulars. But, you know, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a good mix. So the community aspect has helped a lot. And, I mean, everybody down here has been, like, willing to help chip in or come paint or whatever. And
that's so nice.
Yeah. So that's
Are you, my friends did something, I'm going to say what they did, and I'll just leave it at that. they did like a mug club membership kind of thing, but it was for a bar, so it was it was a whiskey bar, so every time you came in, they had like little appetizers and stuff, you got one free little cup for appetizer, and then, I don't know, their drinks, whatever, and you got a little keychain that we were like, hey, I'm a member, or I'm like because they started, and that's how they earned a bunch of money instead of like doing a mug club.
Sure.
Like it was like, oh, you get you get a discount every time you come in, or whatever. Yeah. And in the community, it hit off like hotcakes because it was such a small town. Right. That they are going to be regulars, and like they were like, oh, we get a free little a la mode entree. Or not entree, like appetizer. Sure. Every time we come in, every day. Yeah. Once a day. And I love that. Yeah, so that worked out really in their favor. Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah. So, but those are like little ideas that you never would have thought of. I would have never would have thought of that. And, you know. Right, something that just takes And it's free. It's like, just make them a fucking keychain. Right, yeah. Like, excuse my French. But, like, yeah, it's free for you to do. And it's a lot of people, like, I bought one to support. I didn't buy one to get the free stuff. Right. You know? Yeah. I like that a lot. That's a great idea. And they had a painting that everybody signed. Yeah. With their number, because they had a little number. Yeah, we want to do, we plan still. We're trying to still work on it. We have a big double-decker bus from London. That's so cool. We want to get on that patio. We've been trying for over a year now, and we're still, I feel like at this point they're just trying to come up with random things, like, oh, you need to give us a picture of this, and like they told us recently, they're like, we need to know that it'll fit sideways and vertically. And I'm like, but why? Like, we're going to put it vertically.
It needs to stand on its front end.
Yeah, and I'm like, they're like, and we need 2 scale drawings of that. And I'm like, but if it's gonna for sure be this way, why do we have to show you this way? Like, seems like extra work for nothing. And I feel like they're just kind of postponing some things, so we eventually give up. But that's part of the plan, and we want to do a big Kickstarter for that because we'll definitely need a Kickstarter to get that.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, something like that where everybody signs something like, you know, we helped put the wheels on the bus.
Yeah, you could have them sign a wheel.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. No,
and then you can call it Wheels on the Bus. And then have a little wheel keychain.
Yeah. Ah! You're a genius. You're hired. No, I love that. Yeah. So something like that I think would be sweet. And we know, like, the community, again, like, they've been fantastic thus far. A lot of them ask where it is. I'm like,
Because is that what started was it like, hey, there's a bus here, and that's kind of what started?
That's why we got this building, because it's tucked back. We're like, that's the perfect spot. And everything revolved around the bus. And now I feel bad because the bus is still sitting just idle. And we're like...
Do you own the bus?
We do. Yeah, we bought it like 3 years ago with no plan. Like, we went to visit his sister in Asheville, and there was a cafe run out of one, and we're like, so cool. And he's like, I know where one of those buses is back home. And I'm like, what?
like here we are, we're buying a bus.
Yeah. And then we went and looked at it, and I don't know if we got it for a good deal or not. It doesn't run, so not really sure what you pay for. Like,
how are you gonna get it here if it doesn't run?
Big old tow. We had to get it towed from the storage unit just to this guy who's going to be doing the renovations. It was like $400 just to tow it, like 15 minutes away. Wow. Maybe not even 15 minutes, like 10 minutes. So that sucked. But we're hoping we can get that dropped in the patio, and it add a lot to here.
Is it because it's on wheels that they don't want it there?
It's, if it doesn't move, it's considered an accessory structure and therefore a building, and therefore you have to follow building code, which it doesn't. So if we can get it, like, quote unquote running, then we can potentially go through Department of Transportation, but they have their own set of rules. So we're just trying to figure out which one's more complicated.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
Why can't you just put a trailer hitch on the front?
We asked that too, but they said it's illegal to have a non-running vehicle in Bellevue. And I was like, well, could you make an exception, knowing that it's a business? And they're like, well, if we make an exception, they go, if we make an exception for you, we have to do it for everyone. I was like, well, no one else is gonna be like, that, like, really well done bus gets to be here. How come my junky car that hasn't moved in 3 years can't be here? Because I'm like, it doesn't. Because I get it. I'm like, they don't.
People can walk in the bus.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, it's not like a junk car. Like, we're going to renovate it and make it. So they've got a lot of little things they want to nitpick. Not so much the city. The city's fantastic. And, I mean, planning and zoning has been very willing to work with us. I think they're just very hung up on little details.
We talked about this a little bit, but cities and, like, zoning committees, they cannot move around rules. Like, how Monroe has retail and restaurants. Like, I literally could not clarify my business as a gallery because it wasn't in the code, and which is a retail establishment, a gallery, but it doesn't matter. Like, it wouldn't. They're like, well, this is the rule, and that's it. Yeah. So
it's frustrating for sure because it's like, well, sometimes there should be exceptions to the rules every now and then. Yeah. But we'll see. I'm trying to still be like, it's coming, and every time somebody asks, I'm like,
it's like it's all this. Profits going to bring the bus to Bellevue.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I wonder if you could find a mechanic that, like...
Well, we've got it at a guy, one of his buddies from high school owns this trucking company, and he could. It's just very, very expensive to get it full on running. So he's like, if we get it... He literally texted me one day, he goes, does it have to turn? And I was like, no, I don't think so. Probably not.
And to, like, start up.
Yeah, like literally turn over and turn off. And that's another thing when, like, even planning and zoning was kind of like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, just do this. And I'm like, but why do we even have to spend all that money to get it to do that if it's just a wink, wink, nudge, nudge? Like, can everyone just agree to not come look at it? Like, and
like, can we just forget to, like, schedule that appointment?
Yeah, right. So, we'll see. But
which happens in small towns a lot.
Yes. So we'll see, but I mean, I'm trying to remain positive in hopes that it will soon, maybe not soon, but one day be here at some point.
Yeah.
So you all are slowly kind of getting money toward that, and then you're hiring people here, so you're letting some time off so you can find that balance between running the two businesses so that you don't.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have people here regardless, even if all of us worked here every day. Like, when we get busy, it's crazy. Like,
there's only 4 of you that own it.
Yeah, and the hard part is since all of us have other jobs, it is hard to like sleep and stuff every now and then. Right. But yeah, I mean, when we get busy, we have to have like 5 to 6 people here anyways. So yeah, but we're getting the hang of it. I mean, it's all a learning experience, and I just keep repeating, fake it till you make it in my head. Because I'm like, it's really all you can do.
Really, that's it, and it really does work.
It does. I'm like, when people are like, wow, how do you do it all? I'm like, I don't do it well.
It's like, do you sleep?
Yeah, like,
you get that all the time.
I'm fine. Like, eyes twitching, like crazy hair. And it's like an accomplishment. I'm like, I showered today.
And you don't even have kids, like.
I know, that's what's tough too, because we've had that conversation about kids, and I'm like, what are we doing with kids and all these other things? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of scary, but.
I've decided that, like, when you have kids, you gain this, like, mini superpower.
That's a hope. I hope so.
Like, I think you do. Like, you just, like, my mom always says that, she always said that God never gives you what you can't handle.
Yeah.
And, every single friend that I've ever had that I was like, you can't have a kid. Their kids have been fantastic. Really? And every single person that is like, yeah, I'm ready for this, their kid's like a fucking nightmare. And that's not always true, but like, you know, I think that there's something that happens like when you, from my observation, that when you have a kid, and like moms are like superheroes anyway, but like there's something that you're like, okay, well I just have to do this, and it's just like owning a business. You're like, I just got to do it, so I might as well just do it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm just operating on fumes right now, but there's some sort of something that clicks on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to figure out
you'll do it. I mean, if you can't, you find what's not important and you drop it. You know, like, that's the biggest thing. Like,
that's true.
Keeping everything up and running when, like, I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, especially now during COVID, is that if you don't want to be doing something and if it's not bringing you any joy, or any money, especially like money and joy, that just shouldn't be there, you know. And that's a hard lesson to learn, but it's a lesson.
Yeah, no, it makes sense though. I mean, it definitely makes sense. We've had a couple of those hard things where, I mean, like, we enjoyed the dog sitting, but a lot of times I say that, then I'm like, then we come home to, like, poop everywhere, and I'm like, I hate this, and then it's
you're like,
and I'm like, what's making us good money? But then, exactly, I'm like, but is it still bringing me joy? And, like, I mean, we have a lot of great dogs that we watch and great clients, but it came to the point where it's like, is it worth it?
Right.
Yeah.
Not really.
No. Yeah, it's not, and that's, I think that COVID especially is bringing light to that to a lot of people. Like, is it actually worth it?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can value your time appropriately because you were able to say, like, hey, that really wasn't worth that money. Even though it, like, paid nice.
Right. Yeah.
I'm too quiet.
Sorry.
Speaking of Ryan. Sorry. I tend to talk a lot.
No, it's okay. I'm just, like, watching the levels, and me and you are kind of, like, loud, and he's like...
Oh. I'm like, come back
A little
here.
mouse back in the corner.
Yeah.
Well, also, we have higher pitched voices than him.
Yeah.
I certainly do.
All right. I don't know where we at on time here.
Like a minute, hour 24.
Okay. All right. So we're probably about wrapping up here. All right. So if people want to find you, whether they're in Bellevue or Cincinnati or elsewhere, and they want to check out your retail or Nomad or whatever, how can they find you all?
I would say the easiest way, and probably the thing that we pay attention to the most, would be Instagram. So our Coda Co one is Coda.co.
Is it?
CODA. Yeah. CODA.co. I think it's a dot and not an underscore.
It is a dot.
Okay, thank you. I was like, I should know this. And then the Nomad one, I think it's Nomad.KY.
Yeah.
We've had a few kind of switches with that one, but yeah, I mean, I think it's all listed.
And we'll put it in the description and stuff so people can find you all. So.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys. And this was awesome. This was so fun.
Yeah. See, your husband should have joined. He would have enjoyed it.
Yeah, Tanner would have been great.
Back there.
Jerk.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate it, and we're having so much fun. If you want to follow us individually on Instagram, you totally can. Ryan's Instagram handle is @RDCeramics, and mine is 5 Lines Pottery. That's the number 5. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to write us a review on our podcast. We read every single one of them, and we totally appreciate them. They help us out an awful lot, and they also put smiles on our faces. I hope you guys continue to listen, and we love you. Thanks. Bye.